And at this point, we're going to go ahead and start the training session. We are looking at the company dashboard for the new Colorado system. The system is called COOPR, C-O-O-P-R. I do have to say it's one of the better names that we've run across in the new permitting system, so I'm quite pleased with that. The login URL will be provided to you on Friday morning when we do our test launch. At that time, if you have an escrow, it will be transferred over. And Teresa from CDOT will be sending out individual email addresses for everyone that will, send out individual emails to everyone that'll have the login name and password. As soon as you got the login and name and password, please feel free to sign into the system and get started with it. Now, I'd like to do is show you a few parts of the system. As I said, this is the customer's dashboard. This section here in the middle that I'm highlighting with my cursor is your list of permits. This provides you a list of the most recent 25, 50, or 100 permits that you have accessed. It provides permits in all statuses in all statuses as you're submitting them, as they're being processed, after they've been issued, and then after they expire. You've got the permit number, ID or number listed here. If the permit has been issued, for example, this one, it will list you the permit number here on the left-hand side. If the permit is in process, it'll provide you with the permit ID. That's the reference number that you should use to contact if you have to contact the permit office concerning that permit. You, of course, got the permit time. You will have a time stamp if it has been submitted to the permit office of when it was suspended. You have a status right there that tells you what the status is for the permit. And then we've also got a select action on here. And I'll talk a minute about the select actions. Now, at the top of the list of permits, we have got a couple of filters. The first one you can do is you can filter for unfinished permits, pending permits, issued permits, expired permits, or permits that are on hold for one reason or another. To find out how many pending permits you have, you simply select that pending option there in the show, and that will filter your list for that. Now, we also have search capabilities for it. In order to access the search capabilities, you drop down this chevron next to the search permits. You've got a couple of options there. You can search by permit number, you can search by permit vehicle, permit type, issued date, start date, VIN, license plate number, and so forth. For example, if I wanted to find out how many company fleet permits I have worked with, I'll come down, select company fleet, and I click the Go button, and that gives me a list of all of the company, well, it gives me a list of the last 25 company fleets permits that I've worked with. To finish, if you're done with the search option, you click the up chevron, and then we'll refresh it, and you have all of the permits listed here again. Now, the next thing I'd like to talk about is that if the permit has been issued and the permit has not yet expired, has been suspended or canceled or something else, then the permit number here is a hyperlink. You can click on that permit number, and it will pull up the permit PDF. This is what the Colorado permits look like. Of course, it's got, since we're on a test and training system, it's got the watermark on there stating it's not a valid permit. We've got the same driving directions and then all of the conditions that you normally will see on these type of permits. In addition to accessing the permit PDF, we've got several actions here. You can click the actions on there. If the permit has been issued, your actions are you can view the permit, you can make a copy of the permit, we'll talk about that in a minute, and then you can also request an amendment for that permit. If the permit has not been finished yet, you can resume the permit, which means pick it back up and start processing it again, or you can cancel the permit. And then we've got one additional item on here. If the permit is pending, we also have a status option. When you click the status option, It will list you any additional notes on the system. That is, if the permit had required a help from CDOT or CDOT had a question for you, then the there will be notes up. There's likely to be notes up there on the status for that permit. It'll also give you an average processing time. Now, the processing times have not yet been established, but will be here fairly shortly, so we will fill that information in. The last thing I wanted to show you on this was that if the permit, or last thing I wanted to show you was the view permit. In order to see the view permit details, you click the view option from the select options, and it'll give you a number of screens. You've got the permit type, the permit ID, various other informations. You've got an issue date, a start date, and an end date. This provides you with the vehicle information. This right here gives you a list of all the changes, all the times the permit office has accessed this permit. If you had submitted documents with the permit, they're accessible here. You can also access the permit PDF from this link right here. You have items, fee items. You can have special items. You've got your payments. You can add notes to it. One of the important things that we've got is you can provide the driving directions. You can access the driving directions at any time. It gives you the same driving directions that you receive that are printed on your permit and that you receive when you approve the permit. And then you can also access a map of the permit right here. This map is interactive. It does not show restrictions, but it does show you the trip line so that you can view the route if you have any questions. Okay, at this time, I'd like to go ahead and talk briefly about the administrative functionality that is available on this system. The first one we've got here is that you can renew annual permits. I will not go into that at this time. The second function you've got is the bid route function. This function allows you to go in and put in dimensions for the vehicle. Those dimensions can be up to Chapter 6, or up to anything that requires a route inspection or a bridge study. And at that point, you can run a route, and it'll calculate the route for you that is valid with all the restrictions as of this time. This can be used for bidding purposes or for other purposes. The next item I would like to talk to you about is the company data. The COOPR system allows users to, the industry users to maintain their company data. The system is very similar to Kansas in that if the company has a U.S. DOT number, they are unable to change the company name, the phone number, or the physical address for the company. If you have changes in those in those fields for your company, you need to update it with SAFER. Once it has been updated with SAFER, you can use the sync with US DOT, and that will go off to the SAFER system and pull down your updated company information. The system allows you to add contacts in there. You can modify your mailing address. You can add terminals in there if you'd like to separate out your vehicles. The Colorado Department of Transportation does not care at all about the terminals. That's purely something that you do for your own use. You can also maintain your users. You can add additional users in there. You can lock out existing users. You can unlock existing users. Your company account will be set up with a single supervisor user. From that, you'll be able to maintain users for the life of the life of the system. I do have to emphasize one thing in which is different with the COOPR system with regards to users. This is required by the CDOT security office. If a user does not log in within 30 days, within a 30-day time period, that user will be locked out, inactivated from the system. You will be able to reactivate that user. That is a requirement for all state of Colorado systems, unfortunately. The next thing I want to talk about is the list of vehicles. The system allows you to maintain a vehicle inventory. These are the fields that are required for the COOPR system. The COOPR system will allow you to upload a spreadsheet of your vehicle inventory, and we welcome you to do that come Friday morning so that all your vehicles will be ready for permitting. Now, one thing I do want to emphasize on the COOPR system is that the state of Colorado is moving from last 8 of the VIN to the full 17-digit VIN. The system will be doing some VIN validation checking on that as well. So we do request that you put in the full VIN for your vehicles when you are ordering permits. Now, you as the industry user are able to add vehicles at any time. You can have as many vehicles in the inventory as you would like. You can also maintain them. If you want to delete vehicles to clean it out or change them up, please feel free to do so at any time. That concludes the company management part of the part of my training. We go on to reports. The system does give you the ability to do a reconciliation report. You can do the report by start date, payment types, and also by permit types. You can, as I said, you can filter it by days. The next thing I want to talk about is the escrow. I'm going to skip over the annual permit routes at this point. Next thing I want to talk about is escrow. This system, you're able to maintain the escrow yourself. You can include it on here as a list of the last 50 transactions. You can create an escrow report at any time. A second here, and I'll show you one. And then this report lists all the permit activity. You will be able to add money to your escrow using a credit card. There is no credit card convenience fee for doing that. There is a $3 credit card convenience fee if you pay for a permit using a credit card. As I said before, you can import your vehicles. In order to do that, you use the vehicle import option right there. And then, as you know, Colorado uses route surveys for large loads. We have a route survey link on the system as well. We will talk about that here in a couple of minutes. There will be chat. The CDOT office will be following the chat. You'll be able to request a callback if no one's available by chat, and you can access the permit rules. Okay, at this point, what I'd like to do is go ahead and order a permit. In order to order a permit, you access the link right there, the new permit. You can either access the permit wizard, or if you know what type of permit you need, you click the I know what permit I need. That will pull up the permit details screen. On the permit details screen, your information will be pre-populated. Your contact information will be pre-populated there. This is what's pulled from your company data or your user data, depending on the depending on which field it is. You also have the method for selecting how the permit will be delivered. The options are email, web download, and fax. The web download means that you'll just pull down the PDF from your dashboard, as we saw a moment ago. You can select a second method for delivering the permit, so it'll deliver the permit to you twice. And you can also add the company reference number. The company reference number is any piece of text up to 25 characters long that you would like to permanently add to this permit record. When you do that, it is searchable, is included in reports, and it will be printed on the permit. After you've put in your reference information, you select the permit type. For this particular permit type, I'm going to do a single trip, oversized, overweight permit. Now, there's a couple of checkboxes I would like to talk about briefly that are different. If this permit is an emergency submission permit, and there are strict state rules with regards to what an emergency submission is, you can check this box, and it'll ask you to fill in the explanation of the emergency. If the permit gets submitted to the permit office and it is after hours, an email will be sent to a CDOT contact person. They're not with the permit office, but they will review the nature of your emergency, and if they feel it's appropriate, there's an on-call CDOT person that will take care of it. If you are using a special mobile machinery exemption permit with this permit application, you can check this option, and that will allow permits to be ordered for these SMME exemptions. The next thing I want to talk about is that if your vehicle is a self-propelled equipment, you need to check this box in order for it to do some additional validations. After you've entered these things, you can select your start date. We'll start it for today. It'll automatically calculate your end date. You click the next button to go on to the next screen. And then on the screen, you will select your vehicle information. So we'll pick one of our vehicles from the inventory. You can select a commodity type. We will select our commodity type. You put in a load description. I do want to say in the COOPR system, there may be some additional requirements based on the commodity type that you may have to comply with. You have to select test whether the load is non-divisible, or if it is divisible, that it is not arranged in such a way that the multiple items create an additional over dimension. We'll go ahead and put our dimensions in. Now, for the Colorado permits, you are required to put in your front and rear overhang in every case. You're also required to put in the trailer length if that's applicable. Now, in order to add weights, you click in the weight box. You enter in the number of axles. This will be a 6-axle vehicle. And then we put in our weights and spacings for each of the axles. Give me one moment here to fill this out, please. Okay, and after you finish putting in the axle weights and spacings, you click the validate, weight, and close. The system will validate to make sure that your weights are legal for the particular permit type. After you put in all of your vehicle information and your dimensions, you will click the next button, and you can go on to the routing page. Now, on the routing page, we have the standard 6 methods for entering a location. You can enter a location using an address. You can enter a location using an intersection. A border crossing, you can click on the map, or if you happen to know the lat long of your location, for example, a oil well unit or an oil production unit, you can put in that. You can select a highway name and the mile marker, and then you can also use any of CDOT selected landmarks. For this particular route, we're going to go ahead and do a border crossing. Once you select border crossing, you'll get a drop-down with a list of all the border crossings. This particular example route, we're going to go from I-25 coming in north from New Mexico. Our destination will also be a border crossing. We want to select I-76 going into Nebraska. After you've entered in your origin and destination, you can select via points. Excuse me. You can select either via points on the highway or by highway, in which case you will put in a list of the highways that you want to travel on. You can also click on the map to select via points. If you do that, the system will give you an opportunity to click on the map, and then it will route through each of those via points. For this example, we're not going to use any via points. After you've put in your origin, your destination, you've put any via points, you click validate and run. At that point, it'll take a few moments for the system to come back and generate a route. And it will come back and generate the map right there. And this gives you the map of the system. Now, I do want to emphasize that the COOPR maps are tablet-friendly maps. In other words, you can use the just drag with your finger. You can use the pinch and the pull out in order to zoom in and out. You've got your origin listed here in the green circle. Our destination up top is, the green balloon. Our destination is the red balloon. The blue line is the trip line that you've got there. And then as you zoom in, you'll see the green lines are the state-maintained highways, and the red lines are restricted roads. These roads, excuse me, these are roads that are restricted for this particular permit. In order to find out information on these particular roads, you can, let me zoom in on it here, and then you click on the Get Restrictions for Road link. I click on the road in question, and then I'll have a sidebar that comes out that'll list all of the restrictions on that road segment. In this case, we've got a width of 1125 11 feet, and we've also got a 14-foot width restriction on this particular road segment. Now, these are the standard Google size maps, so you can, in order to pan, you just drag your map with your mouse or your finger. Zoom in and zoom out can be done with these zoom bars, or you can do that with your mouse wheel, or you can use the pinch. After you've looked at the map, the route on the map, you can also get the driving directions. The driving directions will be listed here. These same set of driving directions will be printed on the permit. So you can review this. Once you're happy with this, once you're happy with the route and the driving directions, you click the next button. Take just a second here to go on. You come to the fee summary page. The summary page will summarize all aspects of the permit application. Please review it very carefully before you click submit. Once you're happy with it, you can click submit. Now, I do apologize right now that the C-View provider for Colorado is down. Normally this permit would be self-issue, but unfortunately due to that problem, this permit will not self-issue. But what happens, you ignore that last pop-up message box. You select the payment method you want to use. We'll use escrow, and then we'll click the submit button. Now, like I said, normally if our C-View provider had not been down at the moment, you would have been able to self-issue the permit. There would have been a permit number listed right here, and that permit would have been a link to access the PDF. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go back to the dashboard, and we're going to do a couple of other actions on the with the routing and mapping. What I would like to do is the first step in that is I want to show you how to copy a permit. Now, to copy a permit, you click on the select and you click the copy permit request right there. Sorry, the copy permit option. That will bring you up another permit application that is exactly the same as the one that you had submitted that you're copying from. Again, you'll have your contact information. You select a start date. I go ahead and click my next button. Here are my vehicle information. And this one here, let's change this up just a little bit. Changing my demo ever so slightly because of that C-View problem. I apologize for that. Once I've got the equipment on, or the vehicle on there correctly, I click the next button. I'll come back to my route. For this particular example, I'd like to go ahead and set my origin to the to a border crossing. It is a US 287 coming in from Wyoming. And at this time, I'd like to show you how to a couple of the other location selection options. The next one we're going to look at is lat long on the map. In order to enter a lat long or to find one on the map, I select the lat long / map option. I will click, if I know what the location is, I can type it in. If I don't, I can click find and it'll pull up a map for me. Now at this point, I simply zoom around on the map. Excuse me, until I find the correct location. I can also go to a city by typing that in, do Fort Collins, and I click go, and the system will send me to a city. Now the location that I want to, I want this permit to, for the destination to be is going to be this point right here. In order to select that point, scroll up, I click the select button, and then I simply click on the point on the map that I want it to be. What it'll do is it'll identify that location, and then it'll give you a text description of that. So now after I have selected that location, I can go ahead and click validate and run. It'll take the system a few moments in order to calculate this trip. Let's give it a second here. Now, one of the things I want to bring up that is different in the Colorado system is if you look at your route here, you will see that we had a bit of a detour right there. I can go ahead and zoom in, start up here, and I follow down my route. And then I get to this point, and then you'll see what happens is at this point I have to detour, get on I-25, and then make a slight detour before I can continue on to my destination. The reason for this detour is because of a Colorado law that says that a oversized overweight permit must, if it gets within a certain distance of a port of entry, the system must you must go through the port of entry, so it will route you through the port of entry. If this route, excuse me, if this route gets changed for this, then this notice will be put on the top of your routing screen so that you're advised as to why you have what looks like might be a strange route right there. The driver is encouraged to comply with this rule. It is a state law. Now, the second thing I would like to talk about is, or the next thing I'd like to show you is how to enter in a location using intersection of roads. In order to do that, you select the intersection option. You click on the Find Intersection. That pops you up with a map here. On this map, you will put in, excuse me, the two roads that you need to travel to. In this case, it'll be County Road Q, and it will the intersection of County Road Q with Nelson Road. Excuse me. After you have put that in, you click the Go button. The system will attempt to find those roads, and it'll highlight that. Now, if it finds multiple intersections there, you will have multiple balloons. In order to select your intersection, and you'll see that it has found the intersection of County Road Q and Nelson Road. In order to select that location, you simply click on the balloon and do so. Now, at that point, you're able to generate the route. Now, to do that, you click the Validate and Run. Now, there's one other thing in the Colorado system that we'd like to point out to everyone as part of this training is, in the Colorado system, again, the state only has authority to travel on the state-maintained highways. So, but CDOT would like for you to identify the actual origin or destination for your route. Now, when you do so, if that origin or destination is not on a state-maintained highway, the system will ask you to identify the point on the state-maintained highway system where you will be entering the highway system. To do that, you'll click on this link right here. It'll open up a map. It'll identify the point that you had selected. Now, what you need to do at that point is you will need to zoom out until you find the state highway, the part of the state highway in which you will be either entering or leaving to access this point. We'll assume that that point will be this one right here. You must identify the place in which you are going to be entering or leaving the state system. The state cannot identify that for you. In order to identify that point, you click on the Select button and you click on the that point right there. After you have done that, you'll again click the Validate and Run, and it'll take a moment or two for the system to calculate the route. What happens in these cases are you will see that both your actual destination and the point where you are leaving or entering the state-maintained highway will be identified. And go on here and show you the driving directions. And you'll see on here that the driving directions will identify both of these. It'll identify the destination on the state-maintained highway network, and then it'll identify your final destination of where you are going. Now, I do want to add one thing for this. It is our understanding that a number of the local jurisdictions in the state of Colorado are currently working with the CDOT office in order to integrate local permits, if there are any for those jurisdictions, with the CDOT permit itself. This will give you a one-stop shopping for both of these once these things have been once his processes have been worked out, that will provide you with the safe routing for the for the part of the permit that's on local roads, not on the state-maintained highways. It'll also give you one-stop shopping. I'm just the vendor, so I cannot speak authoritatively, but it is our understanding that the City of Denver is very interested in it, and we anticipate something happening relatively quickly after the launch of the system. Okay, at this point, again, after you reviewed your route, if you're happy with that and everything else, we will submit this permit application. You select how you want to pay for it, with escrow or with a credit card. You click the submit button and it'll come back. Now, this particular permit type I had disabled the C-View validation on for this demo. And that's why we're able to self-issue the permit. I did not realize that I was going to end up with the other permit type, or I would have disabled that as well, so you can see. And as I said, if your permit is self-issued, you'll come up with the permit number there. You can click on that, and it'll show you the permit PDF right there. You can print that out, hand it to the driver, or send it to the driver, and then he or she can be on their way. The next thing I want to talk about is, in Colorado, they do use the route inspections for very large loads. Now, let me show you how the I'm sorry, it's a route survey. Let me show you how the route survey works for this system. In order to order one of these permits, you click the new permit. You fill out the rest of the information as is usual. See, a single trip oversize. Select a start date, click next. I go ahead and select my vehicle. Put in my load description, attest that it is non-divisible. This load's going to be 12 wide, 15 high, 140 long with a 93-foot trailer. I do not have any overhang on it. I click next on there, and then I can go to the routing page. Now, what happens is if a route survey is required or a bridge study is required if the permit is over 200,000 pounds, the system will display this route survey screen. If you do not currently have a route survey for this permit, you will click the Enter a Route button. At that time, you will identify the identify the route for the permit. So that's when we're going to do a very short route from 287 at the Oklahoma line, going to State Highway 116 at the Kansas line. I click Validate and Run. The system will calculate a route for me based on the dimensions. I can take a look at this route right here. If I'm happy with that route, as always, I click the Next button. I will go on to the permit summary page. Again, I check everything on the permit summary page to make sure that is acceptable to me. Now, in Colorado, they have a much more in-depth escort vehicle rules, and a big part of the reason, of course, is that Colorado, unlike certain other states with similar systems, actually all the other states with similar systems to date, has something called mountains. And operating large vehicles in the mountains often requires requires pilot vehicles in order to be safely done. So the specific pilot vehicle requirements will be listed here in this escort conditions that comes underneath your route. Please review those carefully because the escort conditions are a legal part of your permit and you will be required to meet those escort conditions. Now, for this particular load, remember it's a route survey permit. After I've reviewed everything, if I'm happy with that, I click on the route survey, create route survey button. Take a moment or two for the system to come back. Now, a route survey is a document. In order to see it, I click on this print route survey, and it'll pull up this document. This document describes the company, describes the vehicle. It gives me an origin and destination. I've got my escort conditions. I've got my route and other various conditions on there. And I've also got a place on here where I need to sign it. At this point, you take the route inspection, the route survey. You need to physically verify that you can safely maneuver this vehicle on that selected route and that everything's okay. If this route's not correct, you need to go back and change up the route or contact CDOT for additional assistance with it. Now, after you've verified that this route, in fact, is correct, you'll be able to sign it, print your name on your title, sign it, date it, and then submit it back to CDOT. Now, one of the things that's new on the system that is not on any of our current systems is when you go to the route survey section, which lists all of the route surveys that have been utilized or that you've had for your company, we will be adding, it is not there at the moment, but we will be adding an ability for you to upload the signed route survey directly into the system instead of having to fax it in. So after you have signed the route survey, you will be able to upload it through a link right here. CDOT will review your route survey, and if they find it acceptable, they will approve that, and then when they approve it, once you go to your route survey, you will have the green checkbox right there, and that means that your route survey has been approved, excuse me, and it's ready to be used. Now, this route survey has not been approved yet, so what I'm going to do is to complete this training session, I'm going to go ahead and pick up one that does have an approved route survey. Let me see if I can find it. This particular permit right here. So what happens is after your route survey has been approved, and also I forgot to mention, the system will send you an email once your route survey has been approved. Now, in order to utilize the route to finish up the permit application, I click Select, I click the Resume button. We will go back through these screens one more time, review everything. Once I get to my route screen, you will see that I have the route survey numbers listed there. I click the Validate number. It'll take a moment or two for the system to verify that that was the correct route survey, that it has been approved. It is also verifying that there are no new restrictions since the route survey was originally run, and it also verifies that that route survey belongs to this particular company and that the dimensions have not gone up. You will be able to see the route. You'll be able to see your driver directions, your escort conditions, and so forth. You will, however, will not be able to make any changes to it. If this is acceptable to you, you click the Next button, review it once again. You click the Submit button, and then you come and pay for this permit. And the nice thing about these permits is that after the route survey has been approved by CDOT, the permits will self-issue. So you are able to go ahead and print this permit out. Now, one thing that you can do is that if you have an identical load to this going on the identical route, and it's within 30 days, and there has not been any new restrictions comes in place, you are able to self-issue additional permits using that route inspection. So while it'll take a little bit of time to get the first permit issued, the additional permits can be issued very quickly. Now, at this point, I'd like to go back and talk about a couple of additional items on the dashboard that we have. The first one is you've got your statistics here that tell you how many permits you've issued today, how many have been self-issued, gives you your escort balance. It also lists the insurance requirements. Now, CDOT only requires insurance if you are hauling a manufactured home. If you have picked a manufactured home, if that's your load description or your commodity type, then the system will in fact verify that you have submitted a valid insurance accord that has not expired. If you have not done that, you can upload that accord using this link right here. You'll be able to upload a copy of the accord. CDOT will review it. If it looks acceptable, they will go ahead and mark it, and then you can also see when your expiration date is. We also have a summary of the fleet permits that your company may have ordered. These fleet permits give you the opportunity for ordering annual permits at a reduced price. If you order a sufficient quantity of this. The information on here will tell you how many, if you do have these fleet permits, and it'll give you your expiration date for the fleet permit. At this point, the training part of the session is over. What I would like to do is I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. If anybody has any questions.